Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. It's Tuesday, the 13th of June, and we have Charu Chanana, market strategist from Saxo Markets, as our guest today, coming out from Singapore. Charu, as always on a Tuesday, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brian. It's great to be back with you again.
Now, Charu, before we get your insights, we're going to take a look at how crypto markets have performed, and then we'll take a look at how regional stock markets looked like at the first half of the day. We start with Bitcoin, which is at 26,048. It is up 0.9%. Ethereum is at 1,747.2. It's up 0.38%. Looking across the regional stock markets, we start where you are first, Charu. The Straits Times Index is down 0.52%. Bursa Malaysia is down 0.48%. Shanghai is down 0.03%. But the rest of the markets are in the green territory. ASX All Ordinaries is up 0.12%. The Nikkei is up 1.84%. The Hang Seng is up 0.39%. Rounding up the numbers is the Kospi, which is also up 0.36%. Charu, it's a mixed bag around the region. Tell us why.
So certainly such an important week ahead of us, Brian. I mean, we have these key central bank decisions due from the Fed, ECB, Bank of Japan as well. We also have a US CPI coming out tonight. So, I mean, of course, extremely difficult to position in this market right now. But, the signals that we got from the overnight US equity markets, which closed at their highest levels in a year, certainly have been positive. And those have been aided a little bit by China's interest rate cut this morning as well. So that's trying to kind of recover the sentiment a little bit. But of course, I think it's a mixed bag because the positioning for the different Asian economies going into this very critical Fed meeting is slightly different as well.
Now, Charu, we've had good activity in the commodities space. Give us a sense of what's happening around oil and other commodities, especially agricultural commodities.
Yeah, actually, I mean, commodities have seen a positive start to this month. June, the Bloomberg Commodity Index actually rose higher so far. And I think there are a lot of idiosyncratic factors playing a part here. So if you look at oil particularly, I think we saw some, gains earlier on in the month because of that commentary that we got out of Saudi Arabia and OPEC in general, which kind of seems intent to drive out short sellers from this market. That helped a little bit, but of course the sentiment has turned lower again in the last couple of days or so. But if you look at the metals side of things, copper, aluminium, they've obviously been rising so far this month on hopes of that China stimulus, China rate cuts, which actually started coming in today, like we just discussed, and maybe we see some further moves on Thursday as well with the MLF announcement. So that has helped the investment metals to kind of start off the month on a little bit more positive note. Whereas if you look at on the agricultural side, which you said, and that's something really important, to keep on our radars, Brian, right now, because that part is really being affected by fears of El Nino, the weather phenomena, which is kind of starting to impact a lot of the regions, particularly Australia. And, we've seen this excessive heat in Southeast Asia as well. So it's expected this could be a pretty bad summer, and that does impact your agricultural supplies. So there's fears of wheat, corn, soybeans, supplies being impacted because of these peculiar weather phenomena, and that is impacting the agricultural side of things. But overall, I would say the underlying theme for the commodities as a whole, what ties them together, is really the macroeconomic theme. And there, of course, what is really concerning is the demand pressures. So, despite the fact that we are seeing these short-term gains in different commodities for different reasons, the demand outlook right now seems pretty uncertain. And if the Fed continues to raise rates, or even if it pauses this week but continues to send out a hawkish message, that means that the demand side of the economy will continue to be depressed. And that means we can see some near-term pressures on the commodities as well.
Now, Charu, on a different note, on a more positive note, I think, could you share with us really this amazing rise of Tesla again. Tesla's made a strong comeback, and I looked at the charts. It's up almost $100 in the last 1 month.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, it's a very important stock for the markets and for those who are involved in the markets. I mean, we have a lot of Tesla holders around the world, and, there was a period of pressures, especially, going into the Q1 earnings season and coming out of it, when we saw Tesla really in this price war, continuing to reduce prices for its different models to kind of, get a greater share of the market, and investors were uncertain whether that strategy is going to play out well or not, whether that's going to impact their margins as well. So we sort of saw a lot of pressure build up on the stock price because of that. But now recently we've had a flurry of good news. One, it has been announced that GM is actually joining the Tesla network charging station networks, and that is being followed. I mean, Ford already did that. So the three biggest auto players in the US are doing that. That means that the Tesla network could actually become an industry standard. So that's quite a positive news. And I think the second big mover for the stock has been the announcement of Cyber trucks that they're expected to launch in August, and the delivery numbers that they've guided for. I think somewhere around 350K. That's really much higher than what analysts were expecting, about 150K in that range. So I think that is likely to add a new revenue stream as well to Tesla's top line. So I think those fears on the margins have been kind of sidelined for a bit, and we've seen this massive run. I think over the last 12 consecutive days, we've seen Tesla share price closing in higher. But of course, I think we have to keep in mind that, again, going back to the macroeconomic situation where we are, China demand, US demand, everywhere we see weakness likely to set in as the central banks continue to raise rates globally, and that could obviously mean some impact to the EV players as well.
Charu, on that note, thank you very much for your insights. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brian. It was a pleasure.
We've been speaking to Charu Chanana, market strategist from Saxo Markets Singapore, on BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez. Check out this interview on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks for tuning in.